All right, we're live on YouTube. So, welcome everybody to another Musiversal live stream. Today, we are talking about audio editing with the one and only Arthur Romeo. How are you doing today, Arthur?
Hey Pedro, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. So, if you haven't had any audio editing sessions with Miss Verso yet, this live stream is especially so you get to understand what these audio editing sessions are, what can be achieved in one of them, and how they can be helpful in your track, in your music. Right before we start, I just have a couple of messages that I want to give to you guys, which is first of all, the unlimited window is opening very, very soon. So if you are not on the wait list, you really want to join that. If you are on the wait list, you should be getting an invite very soon to join Unlimited. And if you know Musiverse already, you know that our spots fill very, very quick. So if you get the invitation, I would advise you not to wait too much. Just join Unlimited and book your sessions with any of our musicians or audio editors or mastering engineers or producers or whatever you're looking for so that you can take advantage and make your music even better. As with all of the other live streams that we have done here, if you have any questions to ask Arthur while we are doing some music here, feel free to write those on the chat and we'll be more than happy to help you out with any possible questions that you might have. Today, we're going to cover some topics that go from drums editing to vocal tuning to actually exporting the files and sending the correct files, which turns out to be a very, very important thing in this process. And it's going to get quite technical. So if you have any questions and if you don't understand something, you would like us to explain something again, please let us know and we'll be more than happy to help you out with that. With that said, Arthur, are you ready?
Oh yeah. So hello folks, I'm super glad to be here talking about editing and trying to cover some doubts, general doubts that people have about editing sessions and the best way to share files and make your song sound better and better. So, um, can we start? Can I share my Pro Tools screen here?
Awesome. Yes, please do. So you guys have an idea what a session is. We're gonna actually go over. We're not gonna. Arthur is not gonna edit the whole song, of course, because that would take a lot of time. But I think it's really, really important for us to see the difference between something that is edited and not, or something that is not edited. So we have a drum track, and we also have a vocal tuning thing that we're gonna do. So Arthur, you feel free to share your screen and mute me, and people will listen to you through audio movers. And oh, and before you do, everyone that is watching us right now, if you don't know the drill about audio movers is a audio streaming technology that we use for our sessions here at Musiversal. And if you want to listen to the best audio quality possible, you have to listen through us in Audio Mover. So I'm gonna put the link here in the comments with the password for you to listen to the stream directly from Arthur's computer. And but if you don't want to go through that, you can listen through us through YouTube. But bear in mind, the best quality will always come from Audio Movers. Arthur, the stage is yours. Do your thing.
All right. Oh, I'm nervous when you say about stage. Stage make me nervous. So let me mute. Right. Okay. This is a great song that I have here. Like, this is a great recording. Everything sounds as it should. We are just making some adjustments to make to sound better, you know. So there are some times that we are doing editings to solve problems and trying to save some tunes that weren't recorded properly. This is not the best, but we can do that. And the best situation is when we already have something, the material is already good, sounds good, it's a good performance. So we just adjusting some things, some details. So the first thing that I want to cover here um, is that drums, is those drums here. Um, First thing, I get the original track. I save that in a playlist, and I start a new playlist. Oh, Jesus, sorry. So I'm sorry. First thing, I create a group because the drum is a multi-track instrument, so we have a lot of microphones, and when we are editing instruments that have more than one track, we need to group them so we don't mess in phase or any time that we don't want to mess with, you know. So we create a group. So everything we edit in one channel, in one track, is going to work on all the tracks that are grouped. After grouping the tracks, I save in one playlist the original, and I open a new playlist when I'm starting to edit. So if I made any mistakes or if you want to get back to the original, I will always have it on the first playlist. Um, After that, I will map the song and divide in chorus and bridges and verses and intros. So I will map and put some markers here. So as we are not going to edit the whole song, I'm not doing that to save some time. And I start working by sections. So this is the first section, maybe the intro. Let's take a listen. Antes que a vida venha me negar, que amanhã já é segunda-feira. Deixa rolar, vamos ficar desse jeito até você pegar. Em um segundo, então você me beija. Okay, so it's very good, but it's not super tight. We can get a little bit more perfect. Like most of the songs that we are listening through the radios are super edited, and our ears like um, these days we want to listen to that song even if we don't think about it. It's a psychological thing that we are used to listen to perfect songs, you know. So this is why we do some editings. um, I want to start on the tempo one, and I'm working in Pro Tools. This is my DAW, and there's tool here. It's called Beat Detective, and that's one. That's where I made my time adjustments. So it recognize I select a section. It recognize the transients, and then I separate those purple lines are where the bit detective identify where there are transients. So I separate in um, individual sections. And when I hit conform, the algorithm of Bit Detective will follow the BPM that I put here for the bars, you know. And when I hit conform, it put things in place, and smoothing made the crossfades between that, because when I do that, there's a lot of holes here. So this is a hole, this is a hole, this is a hole, and when I smooth that, it creates a crossfade. So let's listen now after editing just that section with the click track. Well, so we can say now that this is perfect. Like all the notes are on the bars that it should be. Kick drum on one, snare drum on two, and we have all that session just perfect. Let me show you before and after with the song, okay? So this is before, this is the original track here. And this is our drums edited now. I'm sorry that there's this little flanger. I think there are drums on this back. Let me see that. Yeah, this is the track I should be using. Okay, sorry. So these are the drums edited now. So one thing that people always asks after I edit an instrument, that usually we start with the drum, and you can see that the acoustic guitar, it's like seems to be more like out of time now that we edit the drums. And people say, well, but I recorded with the click track and stuff. But maybe he recorded listening to the drum track unedited. So when you have an instrument with the click track, um, the musician follows the instrument, you know, it's an instinct. So if there are drums that are a little bit back and forward, the acoustic guitar is going to follow that instead of the click track. So what I recommend is to record like drum and bass maximum, and then we edit drum and bass, so you can record other instruments on top of drum and bass already edited. So the performance of the other instrument, the other musicians recording after the edit, it's going to be tighter, you know. So we spend less time editing if we start editing from like as you're recording, you know. So this is what I recommend. Record drum and bass, edit, and then keep recording the other instruments. Unless you're going to have people recording on top of somebody else's error, and when you get a song that was recorded like without editing, at the end everybody's out, everybody's following somebody else's mistake. So when you put the first instrument on the right place, like when we edit the drums, everything else seems to be off. So this is something. Um, so let's edit a part where there are more notes. So this is the chord.
Quando o sol.
All right. Let's edit the chorus here. Let me see if Pedro is trying to talk with me. No. Okay. Let's keep on going. So chorus, right? It's the most important. It's the most important section of the song for the like a pop song, and almost 90% of what we are dealing and listening like on the streets and on the radios and on the markets are pop music. It's pop music, so the chorus is the most important part. So let's make it super tight till here. All right.
Ao chegar.
So, let me use that. So again, Beat Detective, I select the chorus, we capture the selection, and we analyze the transients were chose by the algorithm here, and well, it's very good. And if I need to fix any detail that the algorithm was not too smart to do, I can do that later. So after that, I separate in a lot of clips. So this is the track: kick drum, kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom. Those are tracks, and on one track you can have like a lot of clips. This was the naming for that in Pro Tools. Okay, so those are a lot of clips that I'm putting on the right place. And at the end, I will show you, we'll have just one clip for one track at the end. Okay, so let's listen. So this is super tight. Let's listen before without the editing, how it was with the music. Let me put the vocals.
Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar, de ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr, que é tão raro de escolher. Amor, quero passar mais um ano.
So this are the drums unedited, and those are the drums after editing.
Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar, de ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr.
So you can see that the acoustic guitar is a little off. It's more noticeable when we have the edited drums. Because the unedited drums are matching a little bit with the unedited guitars, but they're not tied, they're not pumping, you know, and we want that song to pump. And after the editing, the kick drum is like super tight on the one beat, one bar, and the snare drum on the second one, and it goes and goes and goes. And at the end of the editing, we select everything, and I create a new playlist, so I can always have this super edited clips if I want to change anything, and I make I consolidate the tracks so they're just one per track again. So this is one track and not thousands of clips. And this is the file that I will send you back after our editing. Normally I spend 45-50 minutes to edit one instrument of a song of 3.5 minutes. So to edit this drum that has 3.5 minutes, I will spend like 45 minutes, and to edit a vocal is the same. So we can cover the vocal editing now. Maybe if Pedro wants to say something, I don't know. Or I just can keep on moving. Okay, Pedro is writing. But let's go to the vocals. So the vocals I already imported to Melodyne, and maybe I want to show you the chorus. All right, so let's listen the chorus. This is unedited vocals, okay?
Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr, onde é tão raro de escolher amor. Quero passar mais tempo quando o sol chegar.
It's good to listen to the harmonies, but with the melodies that I listened one time to the song and already map the harmonies, so I kind of know where it is and what notes should be. And there are a lot of times when I edit vocals just listening to the vocals and not in any harmonies, but I don't recommend that. It's better always listening to the harmonies together. But let's do it.
Quando o sol chegar, eu quero.
So there are a little bit of timing things to correct and pitching things to correct. Let's start. All right.
Quando o sol Quando o sol chegar, quando o sol chegar,
Okay.
quando o sol chegar. Quando o sol chegar, o sol, o sol, sol chegar, ao chegar, eu quero estar. Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar. Eu quero estar.
And one thing that I didn't told you, I didn't tell you is I already edited that vocal, so I kind of know the melody.
Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar. Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar. Contigo em algum lugar onde ninguém no mundo. Contigo, contigo em algum lugar. Contigo, contigo em algum lugar onde ninguém no mundo possa.
So one thing that people always ask if this is the note. So this is not the note. Melodyne called that bubble. Bubble. I don't know how to say that correctly, but this is the bubble, and the pitch actually is the line. So listen to the line.
Ao chegar,
Yeah, yeah. So let me show another different one.
lugar, lugar, lugar.
Yeah, yeah. You can see the pitch going down, you know. So the pitch actually is the line, and the bubble is where we divide things to edit, you know. So if I want to change that, this is just one thing. But if I divide that here, I have two bubbles. But the pitch is the line. So
Quando o sol chegar,
actually here is not this note. If I slice that bubble, we are going to see that this is the note here. Let me show you. Where is it? So the note is that. But sometimes Melodyne puts on the same bubble different notes, as is happening here. So this is one note, this is another, and this is just one bubble. So if I divide, I have the two notes here and here. So
quando o sol
no, no.
chegar, quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar. Contigo em algum lugar. Contigo em algum lugar. Algum lugar. Algum lugar. Em algum lugar. Um lugar. Lugar. Onde quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar.
Okay.
Em algum lugar, em algum lugar, em algum lugar, em algum lugar onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. Em algum lugar.
So people are super interested in pitch correction, but they don't give much effort to time, and time is super important. And people, I think their ears are more accurate and bother. Their ears get more bothered with pitch problems than tempo problems, you know. But I can hear both happening.
Onde ninguém no mundo possa. onde, onde ninguém no mundo possa ninguém.
So another cool thing to say is, look this line here. It goes down and goes up after that. So what note is that? In my head and in my thoughts, I tend to like what I think the note is just on in the middle of this down and up, you know. So the note here is just the middle. So if I have like this super steep thing, the note is not there and it's not there. It's just in the middle. So
De ninguém.
if I put that down, you're going to see that it's a little like flat, you know.
De ninguém. De ninguém. De ninguém.
It's not right, you know, and this seems better to me.
Onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar.
So there's some things that you got with like time and experience, and as the more that you work with, the more you understand things, and the more that you understand things, less you want to edit. It's crazy because I'm talking about my work, but the more you edit, the worse that it gets, you know, because there's no editing that it's better than a great performance. Because when with a great performance, we just correct tiny details, and with a bad performance, we need to like do a lot of stuff and doesn't sound natural, you know. There's sometimes when we stretch too much things that's not natural. I can show you here, but this song is super. It's a great performance, so I'm going to stretch just to educational purpose, you know.
Mundo possa nos achar.
So sometimes you need to do that, and
Possa nos achar. Possa nos achar.
and it's kind of robotic, you know. And here it's not that much, but and we stretch a lot, but there are some times that you just stretch a little bit and it's horrible.
Possa nos achar.
So the less you edit, the best it sounds, you know.
Onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. Onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr. Onde é tão onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr. Onde é tão raro de escolher amor. O tempo para de correr.
So I think this is the middle, okay? So
De correr, onde é tão raro de escolher amor. Quero passar.
so I think this note is an F, if I'm not wrong. If this is an F, it's the middle of this thing, and it's right here. So
Tempo para de correr, correr. De correr, onde é tão raro. Onde é tão raro de escolher amor. Raro de
the rainbow.
raro de
So this note should be
de escolher. De escolher. De escolher. De escolher amor. Amor, amor, oh, amor, oh, oh, amor, quero quero passar, quero passar mais tempo com, quero passar mais tempo, quero passar mais tempo com tempo com com mais tempo com vou, mais tempo com vou, com tá mais tempo com vou, com mais tempo com vou, com tempo com vou, onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr, onde é tão raro de escolher. Onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr, onde é tão raro de escolher. Amor, quero passar mais tempo quando o sol chegar. Onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr, onde é tão raro de escolher. Amor, quero passar mais tempo quando o sol chegar. Eu quero.
Okay, let's listen with the harmonies.
De ninguém no. Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar. De ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr, já é tão raro de escolher. Amor, quero passar mais tempo quando o sol
So
no mundo possa nos achar.
this it's not right.
Achar.
Look, it's like here. It needs to be
Já,
like here.
já, achar.
Better, right?
Já, 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 achar. Já, nos achar. Achar, achar. O tempo para de correr, já é tão raro de achar.
There's some level difference as well on some words, and there's this automatic thing here that I just like make quieter notes louder. I just put a little bit so I don't push too much noise floor, like, and make loud notes quieter, so a little bit, and I even more the difference between them.
Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar. De ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr, já é tão raro de escolher. Amor, quero passar mais tempo quando o sol.
Okay, great. So this acoustic is off about time, and it's making it hard to notice the difference. But let me show you just drums that we added and vocals that we added for the chorus.
Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar. Onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr, onde é tão raro de escolher. Amor, quero passar mais tempo com você.
And without the melodyne and the editings that we did on the vocals, pitch and time, this is what it is.
Quando o sol chegar, eu quero estar contigo em algum lugar. Onde ninguém no mundo possa nos achar. O tempo para de correr, onde é tão raro de escolher. Amor, quero passar mais tempo com você.
Okay, and I think it's more or less something like that. I can edit pitch correct vocal, like a lead vocal, one track of a lead vocal of 3.5 minutes in 45 50 minutes. So it's normally one session per instrument that we need. If there's too much things to correct, maybe can take more than one session. It's not something absolute. Like it depends a lot on the material that people are sending me. But with a good material, I can make it sound better. One instrument in one session of 45, 50 minutes in general. Okay, so Pedro is telling me that we have some questions, so I'm going to return to our. Oh, it's not this.
It's that.
It's that.
Okay.
Okay.
So, where am I? Oh, it's on the top.
It's on the top. So,
Awesome. You
Okay,
should.
so
Can you hear me?
I'm back. Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. So that was really interesting, and we do have a lot of comments from people watching us. First of all, yes, I know that guitar is very, very off. It's because I played it. So, so it's not because it was recorded on unedited drums. It's because the guitar player is really bad. So,
It's you that are saying that. I try to cover you, man.
yeah, I know, but I feel like people deserve the truth. So, yeah, and people also need to know, like, I'm not a Musiversal musician. If it was, maybe a Musiversal guitarist playing, then it wouldn't be so much out of time. That's why you always need a professional to do things,
Sure.
not me. But we have a lot of comments from people watching us, and guys, thank you so much for joining the live stream and commenting here, and we're more than happy to help you out. First, we had Dawn saying that it's very humbling to hear one's voice being helped, and she mentioned that you are very kind while you're doing vocal surgery. So, uh,
Thank you, man.
kudos to you. Now, Angry Orchids band just asked, how do you avoid the out of phase sound when you change the pitch um, of a vocal track?
Well, if you modify too much, you're going to hear that kind of phasing sound, funny phasing sound, because you're stretching, you're modifying things. So if you need to stretch too much, maybe you need to re-record. Editing can't save everything. There are some things that editing can save. And there are a lot of times that I recommend people to just re-record things because we're going to spend more time editing than re-recording, and the results at the end are worst. Like when you do a lot of editings, as I said before. So you need to be very kind and gentle with vocals because they are very they're an instrument. That requires that attention, and you don't want to modify too much because we all know the sound of a vocal, and we all know when a vocal is being edited and modified. It's the instrument that is easier to notice editing. So it's
Yeah,
it's not an easy task to edit vocals at the end.
that makes a lot of sense, and I think it resonates with what Tony Solato just said in the comments. He says that
Hey Tony.
he said that he finds tuning vocals extremely frustrating, and Tony, I'm with you on that one. I can't do that at all, and he really appreciates your help and experience. I'm guessing you guys all work together already.
Yeah, Tony's a great guy with great tunes. Hey Tony.
That's awesome. Well, Tony has been present in every single live stream almost, and he has worked with almost everyone that has been a guest in a live stream as well. So he's like a Musiversal expert already. So it's great to see you back here. And John Zilber just asked, and I think it's really cool that you showed the tool on Melodyne that changes the dynamics of the vocals. The volume of the quiet phrases and the loud and the volume of the louder phrases, that you can make them quieter or louder, because he asked if you can recommend a good tool for making continuous real-time adjustments to the volume of individual tracks. He basically wants like a slide. He wants like a fader that goes up and down throughout the song, instead of him having to draw dots of automation.
Okay, so yeah, I know that it's frustrating, but um, I don't like to carry those sad messages, but the best way to do that is like actually drowning. There are some automatic tools that can help, but they they they're just not humans, you know, and we need the touch of a human to make things sound human. Unless everything is going to sound like kind of, I don't know, it's not natural. There are some plugins and some automatics tools that can make that, but at the end, the pros, the guys that work with like the biggest singers in the world, like Beyonce and Rihanna and Justin Bieber, well, there are some guys working with those super artists that are a friend of mine, and they're doing that. They drown. They need to drown because the most handcraft work that you put on editing, like you know, I'm talking about Rihanna and Beyonce and those great singers, and even those guys are edited, so you have a great performance, like the best performance in the world, with great equipments, and after that you just um, make like super perfect things, and Melodyne has this tool that soften a little bit of um, the lower and this difference between high and low amplitude of your track. But if you need to do too much of that, you start to feel the noise floor, the room floor, like the ambience, and you know you start to listen to some artifacts that you don't want, and maybe you need to draw or make some handcraft movements about editing. You know, it's boring, but it, it's the best way to sound like a pro. You know.
That is very true, unfortunately, but that's the case. And well, we actually have a second part of the question from Angry Orchids, because they said that even when they do a tiny amount of pitch shifting, it still sounds phasing. And I'm sure that probably you would have to listen to the track to know exactly what's going on. But he's wondering, they're wondering if that is like the version of Melodyne that's cheap, and maybe it's because it's not a pro version, and that's introducing phasing, or what else could it be?
If you don't have like I don't, I'm not sure what version of Melodyne is mine. Maybe Studio or something like that. It's not the super hyper duper one, because I don't need like all the tools that they offer with the super this higher version. But it's not the cheaper one, because the cheaper one doesn't have some tools that maybe this is it. You know, man. Maybe he should get a trial of the next one, the next version, like this one above. You know, because you have more tools. You can do more stuff with it. You know, there are sibilance control. There are more accurate surgery like tools, like just to stretch, like the best way to do that. I had this cheaper version of Melodyne. It can go do some automatic stuff, but there's a point that you can do much, you know. So what I can recommend to him is like do this not that much, don't do too much modification on Melodyne, and after Melodyne put some other, like maybe an auto tune like Waves tune or auto tune from Antares or something like that, and make like a chain of corrections. You know, if you don't have like the two to correct, like as a pro, maybe you do like subtle corrections in different points of your chain. You know, maybe it can help.
That makes a lot of sense. Like pretty much you would use more than one compressor so that you can compress more without sounding over compressed. That's
Yeah.
I,
If you
I
don't
do.
have a vintage LA2A, so you can like crank, and it's awesome. Maybe you need like a chain of compressors to
That's
achieve that. You know.
yeah. I really wish I had a vintage LA to way that's my favorite compressor by the way.
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
I have a couple of questions for you, Arthur, because before this live stream session, we talked about what we can do, especially myself, because I had a couple of editing sessions with you, and what we can do as Musiversal users to make the most out of those sessions. Because you were telling us, it takes about 45 to 50 minutes for you to edit one instrument or edit vocals, tune vocals. Is there what kind of things that we can do to make sure that you can use that time most effectively, so you can really focus on what we want you to do, which is editing and making it sound awesome, rather than like fixing problems that we can avoid?
Well, this is a great question because it's so frustrating when you spend like the time of your session, um, like exchanging files, or like understanding those weren't the best files to send, and there are sometimes that I can't do much because people send me files to like correct vocals, but the vocals are with other instruments on the same track, so and I know how frustrating that can be, like not knowing the best files to send, or whatever. Maybe you made a mistake and you didn't check the files that you were sending. So the first thing about we start telling the best ways to send is always check the files that you were sending before you send me, because in Musiversal we got like 10-15 minutes before the session to download the tracks and to build the session on Pro Tools. So most of the times I would just identify that we have track problems 5 minutes just before our session. So there's no time to correct that before. So we use some time of our session resending files, or understanding those kind of things. So always check your files. When you make a folder to send to Musiversal platform, check the files. Maybe you can import that again to your DAW, just to check. Oh, they're all mono files, because there are a lot of times that I get stereo files from mono sources, like it's a bass, it's a mono signal, you have like a bass from a DI, there's just one signal, it's just one sound, and people send me like a stereo track because maybe they bounce as stems, and as I'm not a Logic user or Ableton Live user or Studio One user, I'm most of the times I can't help the people to understand what they're doing wrong with their exporting, because I don't know the program, the DAW. So there's sometimes that we need to go to YouTube together and like how to export mono files from like and I learned together. But maybe this is something that we can avoid if you um, got to know how to export properly from the DAW that you're using, and knowing that mono sources and mono instruments should be exported in mono. This is one thing. The second thing is like always use the sample rate and the beat that um, as it was recorded. So if you record something, the first instrument that you recorded for that song, like if it's drums or if it's like I don't know bass, or if you started your session with electronic beat, and you started your session in 44 kilohertz, so you need to record everything in 44 and you need to export that in 44. And at the end of the process, like on the mastering part, when you're mastering your song, the master engineer will make your song in 44, 48 for the different places that you're going to release your song, like different platforms. Each platform has a different need about the quality of the files, and the it's not quality, it's the specifications
Resolution.
of the files. So like a CD that we don't see that much, like a compact disc, it's 44, but MP3s and WAV files and other stuff. And if you're making a video with that sound, you need to work with 48, because if you don't work in 48, maybe you're ain't going to be able to sync with the video, or it's always going to lose sync as things are going. So you need always to know what you want to do. If you're just recording a song, well, I always recommend to record at least in 48 kilohertz and 24 beats. This is the minimum, and it's good enough. It's super acceptable. I'm sorry. And there are, well, about mono files and stereo files, about the resolution.
Yeah, I think this is a big thing, like especially sample rates, because I was recording. We did a live stream with Ben Trick the day before yesterday, and we talked a lot about sample rates, because when we are, especially if you're a Logic user, when you open a Logic session, it automatically sets to a sample rate that is not. It's not displayed anywhere unless you go to the settings and you actually look at the sample rate. So you don't really know what sample rate you're recording unless you have set that before. And when you are, setting up a session in Musiversal, it asks you the sample rate for a very specific reason. For what you were saying, you need to record always in the same sample rate and work in the same sample rate. And sometimes people just select 48 because, well, it's a higher resolution, so that it's a better quality, quote unquote. So, but what happens, and he mentions that, is that if they record cello and sometimes the conversion is not very good, like if you automatically drop a 48 kilohertz sample rate audio in a 44.1 session in Logic, it's going to automatically convert to 44.1 from 48, and sometimes that conversion is not the best one, and actually the cello is going to sound like maybe out of time or out of tune.
Out of tune, yeah.
Yes. So it's very, very important to check that stuff.
So if you need to convert a file from 48 to 40, from 44 to 48, or 48 to 40, if it's not the same, because 40 or 48 to 96 is like the same division. So the computer can make that division without too much trouble. But if it's not the same division, like 44 to 92, 96.
96.
Yeah, sorry. it's not the same division, so it can create those kind of problems. So you need to do that in an analog environment. So you get out of an interface or a, ADDA in 44, and you got into a different equipment that is getting the analog signal in 48, and then you record that in 48. So this is the best way to convert files of different sample rates.
Yeah, so like, yeah, I think this is really, and I didn't know about that. Like, I never thought about that actually because I never convert sample rates.
Well,
But
the master engineers are doing that, like
right.
yeah.
So when we have, we're going to do these different when we need different files for different things. Like if we're going to release a music video and the CD. So we do need, like, we need to do that in an analog world. Like in the digital, it's very hard to make that sound. Actually, it's is it impossible to avoid those problems digitally?
Yeah, it's because it's math, and it's divisions. Like you get like the resolution, and you're dividing samples, and it can go crazy. But I think Luis, our master engineer, can say more, like, with more pro, how can I say that?
You're going to say a word in Portuguese that I know, but
But
well,
he's the best guy
he's the
to
expert about that,
yeah,
exactly.
he's the expert to tell about that. I'm just the editing guy, but it's more or less something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's really important that you mentioned that because we're coming up on our time now. Like we're already an hour and 2 minutes live. So guys, if you're watching and you have another question to ask Arthur, now is your last chance to do so, and he's here to answer any questions that you might have. But it's very important that we talk about that you mentioned sample rates because we are actually going to record some videos in the future and we're going to make them available as to how to export um, any audios, any files that you might need to export from your sessions for a Musiversal editing session or a recording session or anything like that. Because this has actually become a theme here in the live streams. If you have your files right, you can actually get so much more done in a Musiversal session. So it's really cool that you mentioned that. Now, before we go, Arthur, is there anything else that you would like to share to people, like maybe a tip for audio editing or something like people need to pay attention other than the sample rate and the fact if the file is mono or stereo?
Well,
What else is important for you?
there's a misconception that people are like saying a lot. That is the concept about stems. Stems are a group of multi tracks. So if you got a drum stem is a stereo track, a two-channel track, is L and R, like stereo track of all the tracks of the drums. Or if you have like a backing vocal stem, it's a group of all the backing vocals into a stereo track. So this is a stem. If you want the individual tracks, like from the drums, if you recorded 12 tracks, 12 microphones of your drums, this is a multi-track. So it's multi-track. You have a lot of tracks, and they're individual tracks, and you're going to export or receive a multi-track, like the 12 tracks that you recorded. And a drum stem is different. It's just a stereo track of the group of those 12 channels into a stereo track. This is a stem, and the other thing is multi-track, is individual tracks. So people are saying a lot that, oh, I will send you like the stems of the drums, and they send me the multi tracks, or the individual tracks of the drums. Or they ask me, oh, can you send me the stems of the drum? And I send stereo track of the the group of the drum kit. And people say, no, I need the individual channels. So it's not the stem, stems the group. The other thing is the individual tracks, is the multi tracks. We call the multi tracks. So I think that this is it.
Yeah, this is really important, and I get it's sometimes very um, weird to hear people asking me for the stems of the drums because I'm like I never know what that means exactly. We
Yeah.
have we have a last question from Angry Orchids, and I guess it's relating to the Melodyne question that they asked before, asking if block size matters in the quality of the editing in Melodyne. So block size would be, uh, I'm guessing, the same thing as hardware buffer size on Pro Tools, like, or the playback buffer size, like 512 samples or 1024 samples um, that you check on
Well,
your playback engine.
I'm not sure that interferes on the quality of the audio. I
I
think
would.
if it's processing, if your hardware can process your DW and the Melodyne running, it's not changing the sound of the thing if you have more or less. It just it changes the
It's pretty much a
behavior.
delay, right?
Yeah, yeah. But when you hit play, you can listen the delay.
Exactly.
You can listen the delay when you record and listen again, or when you're doing automations like on a surface control, like a mixing control here. If you have a lot of delay, like a lot of plugins, when you do the automation, you see that the automation is not on the right place because you're listening delayed and you're making the automations on the right place. So sometimes it's bad for that, but I,
Ye-
I don't know if
Yeah, I think
change the
that block
sound.
size, or that kind of stuff only affects when you're recording. It can, make you record a little bit out of time because what buffer size is or block size is um, in some DAWs is the time that it takes for the computer actually to play the audio. So if you
Yeah,
set it to like 1,024 samples, when you hit play, it actually the computer waits for for 1,024 samples to actually start playing, so it can gather all the data, process it, and you will hear it without any pops or clicks or any like hiccups that might come up because of processing speed coming from your computer processor. So it's not changing the quality of the audio at all. It's just taking a little bit longer to play it.
perfect. This is it.
So
You just told like people about the science of it is exactly the way you said it.
oh yeah. So the question, he said he just sent the compliment of the question. If he's we're saying to stay consistent with the sample rate, and I'm wondering if the block size also needs to stay consistent. So if by block size you mean the setting on your DAW, that does that, which in other DAWs is hardware buffer size or deck or any other places, this can change, and you should change that at like when you're recording. You should record with as low as possible, maybe 32 samples if your computer can handle that,
Sure.
64 if not, and 128 samples it just starts to get a little bit too much, and then you're going to record things out of time, which is okay, but it's going to give more work for the audio editor because it's more stuff to correct.
This is super important that you just said it. When you record with this delay, like this sample, this delay for the playback too high, you start to record things delayed. So the artist like will take a little bit of more time to listen and then to record. So it's not going to match with the song. It will be always delayed. So
Exactly. So when you're recording, you always use as low buffer size as possible. And I know it's a little bit confusing because we are using the same word, which is sample. And sample rate and hardware buffer size or block sizes in
are different
samples.
things.
Yeah, like the thing is, uh, we are sample rate is like a rate, is like a resolution, and hardware buffer size we are using
It's the time
samples
that
to
it takes from you
exactly
play the playback to get from the hardware or the your interface to your ears. It's the delay from the time that you hit play and when you start to listen to that.
exactly, and we're measuring that time in samples. That's why it says samples.
Yeah, but it
Uh,
could be milliseconds or it could be feet or it
exactly.
could be.
It's they only do that because like when you do when you use like a 44.1 sample rate, it actually is taking pictures of the audio every second, and 44.1 kilohertz means that you're taking 44,100 pictures of that audio every second, and then
Perfect.
they in a sample rate, like for example, if you use in a buffer size, if you use a buffer size of 32 samples, it's going to wait for 32 of those 44,100
Thousands.
samples
Yeah.
to actually start playing. And this just gives the computer time to process. But this is very complicated stuff, and you don't have to worry about that. The only thing that you need to stay consistent with is sample
It's
rate.
yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
I remember just this one final thing that is super important. That is about the length of the tracks and the starting point, like the 0 point. As we are
Oh, yes.
working remotely and we are sharing files from one DAW or one computer to the other, and we're not sharing the same session, like the same Pro Tools session or the same Logic session. Uh, the most important thing at the end is that we are sharing the same zero. So if you record drums that have like 4 bars before the drum start, you don't want to export these files to me like just when the drum start. We need the full thing, like the silent bars that are before that, because we need to record the other instruments with the same length, with the same distance, the same time that we have the silence. So we need the 4 bars always on every recording, unless people will not share the 0 point, and maybe you're sending me a file that it's not synced, and we lose a lot of time trying to sync files that are not synced, that doesn't share the same 0 point. They wasn't recorded like zero boom, and they are not sharing the same zero, and we need to sync that, and it's never going to be like as it was recorded, like perfect. We make like something near that. It's almost like approximately, but it's not perfect as it was recorded, and we always want things as it was recorded. So it's very important the tracks to have the same length. It's good that they stop on the same length, because they are on your timeline of your DAW. It's going to have like the tracks are all be beautiful and have the same length. But the starting point is the most important. If at the end you have like different lengths, there's no problem. But I need the same starting point. Instead, we are going to like spend a lot of time syncing things, and this is so frustrating. Like for me, it's just a job, but for people, it's annoying. It's not good, you know.
And it's going to take more time for you to actually start, doing what you were doing, whether if
Well,
it's like,
I
editing drums.
I spent there were sessions that I spent the whole session just trying to sync like the 40 tracks that are all over the place. They like, well, I don't know the song, so I need your help to know where this starting. So this book, where it goes, this like you need to tell me. So oh, it's after the da 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 book, and then we go crazy. It's crazy.
Exactly. And if everything starts at the same 0 points, then
You
you
just
can
hit
actually
play.
spend exactly.
You just hit play and the song's there. You know.
And you wouldn't waste like if you're a user, you won't waste a session showing Arthur where to put every single audio. You would just use the session to do what you are, or
Yeah.
like to edit the vocals that you were wanted to edit. But we are way off our time now. We are like an hour and 15 minutes. So guys, thank you so much for joining us, Arthur. Thank you so much for today. Like that was very very helpful for every one of us, and thank you so much for making the time to be here with us today.
I appreciate Pedro. Thank you guys that were here with us. Um, let's make music, right?
Awesome. Yes, I can't wait. And most of the guys that I see here, they are Musiversal users. So if you haven't booked a session with Arthur yet, well, Arthur is here to help your song sound even better than it already does. And if you are not a Musiversal user yet, our unlimited window is opening very soon. So if you're on the waitlist, you should get an invitation very soon. And you should get in as soon as possible because our spots do fill very, very quickly. They are coming out, and also our musicians, they are getting booked a lot because, well, they're pretty good and people like recording with them. So if you want to record a lot of music, be there as soon as possible to grab your seat as soon as possible. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and I hope to see you again next week for our next live stream. Which, by the way, spoiler alert, our live stream next week is about drums, recording drums with an amazing drummer. So thank you so much, guys, and see you next time.